I was really active and I was always getting myself into trouble. And add puberty on that and growing a total of 4 extra inches, I shed through clothes pretty quickly. Now this was really annoying for my mom because she would have to keep buying me jeans because I would either grow out of them or get holes in them. But for the jeans that I grew out of and all the other clothes that I grew out of, my mom would give them to the people in my church, and the other clothes and shoes that would have holes or they were just too tattered to be worn or they wouldn't look good enough for school, she would give to Goodwill. So when I was younger, I used to ask my mom, well, why don't we give those clothes to Goodwill? Why are we always giving it to people in my church? And she just said, well, the people at Goodwill know what to do with them. They'll make good use of them. As if there was some sort of magic formula that people at Goodwill can just turn crappy clothes into magical, wonderful clothes that everyone can wear, that nobody else seems to know. So that made me think, why exactly do we give the poor and people of lower income things that we would never want? Like, we definitely do that as a society. We give them our worst in hopes that we're somehow validating ourselves by doing something good. So why is it good? Well, we as a society tend to validate ourselves without actually facing any sort of hardship. I mean, giving up a Generation 4 iPhone because you're upgrading to an iPhone 6 or 7 isn't really a big deal. But for some reason, we like to tell ourselves that we are doing some sort of good to the community by giving someone a phone that operates maybe 20% of what it used to when we first got it. This also leads to the false sense of altruism, which is really just decorated in some sort of selfishness. I mean, we tell ourselves every day, like, oh, I donated this many hands to the poor, or I gave this many clothes, when in reality, we wouldn't be comfortable with wearing those clothes. And this can actually be a problem for several reasons. According to the Organization of Economic Control and Development, this can create many problems for organizations and countries that are trying to sell these clothes to third world countries. What actually ends up happening is a lot of times these clothes, let's say, that we're donating are stored into factories and sold off for very cheap prices to third world countries. Now this actually floods the markets with things like really crummy t-shirts that might have stains on them or holes in them, and that actually creates competition for local businesses. So in return, textile industries and seamstresses are driven out of business because they simply cannot compete. In an article released by the Business Times, the country of Chad actually cut off U.S. foreign aid because it was becoming such a problem for their people. One sighting showed that whenever the United States was donating things like bread and other pastries, it increased the cost of these things by almost 300%. Now, the people that were trying to get them couldn't even afford to buy them in the first place. So once again, we're telling ourselves that we're helping these people, but we either inconvenience them even more, drive out their businesses, or don't end up helping them at all. Now, another instance that actually affected me was a thing at our high school called Construction. All the clubs would compete to donate as many cans as they could, and then one day we would all make towers and really cool things out of these cans. But what actually ended up happening is we would donate 20,000 cans of corns and beans. Now, I don't know about you, but if I were at a soup kitchen and I were needed to be helped, I don't really think I would eat 20,000 cans of beans and corn. But we did this because we would get points for NHS or Key Club, and we inconvenienced ourselves minimally by getting the cheapest thing on the menu. When in reality, we didn't actually help people get a well-balanced diet. So not only are we inconveniencing ourselves, are inconveniencing others by conveniently not really inconveniencing ourselves at all, we're also dressing up this idea that we're helping each other. We need to stop half-heartedly helping others because it not only makes our nation as a whole look poor in the eyes of others, we're actually not being very altruistic at all. So what are the solutions? Well, an article posted by Ann Boskamp, who's author of New York Times bestselling book 1,000 Gifts, she states that we're not giving what we're called to give unless that giving affects how we live, affects what we put on our plate, and where we make our home, and where we hang our hat, and what kind of threads we've got to have on our back. What she's basically saying is that we need to treat the poor with dignity. Yeah, they might not have as much wealth as we have, but that doesn't mean they don't have any dignity and they're not seen as people just like we are. So we need to really do our research. When it comes to organizations, not all nonprofit organizations are weighted equally. Things like Toys for Tots, that's an organization that specifically asks for new toys because, let's be real, if they ask for used toys, only God knows what they would get. So we should do our research when looking at organizations that we help out. Because some of these organizations, while it may be easier because they're local, others might just have really good marketing schemes and don't actually end up helping people in the end. So we must understand the needs of people first, and that comes with doing research. If I go online and I look at an organization where I honestly understand where all of my things are going, and I look on the website that specifically lays out what people need, then I'm much more likely to help people. And in the end, I can say that I did a good act. So in order to do this, we must spend time and money so that we can actually say that we're legitimately helping others. Now, the next time you have a chance to share something with others, let's give from the pile that we want and not necessarily give from the pile that we don't care for.